anything that you want, who are the 5 heads on your esports Mount Rushmore?
Okay. Yeah, this is obviously tough.
Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to welcome in another amazing guest to the Mimosa Brunch. He has nearly 475,000 followers on X. He is the owner of Gaming World News and Esports Closet. He is the face of gaming news. It's Jake Lucky. How are you doing, Jake?
I'm doing good, man, and thank you for finally having me on this. It's good to finally just hash things out and actually get to talk to you live.
Heck yeah, man. And we can start right there. Jake Lucky. I assume Lucky's not your real last name, but where'd that name come from?
It is not. Should I just dox myself? Right
Yeah, go ahead. What's your full name and address?
Yeah, no. Luckily, I had been doing some videos. I first got introduced to YouTube in high school, and so I kind of knew then that I probably shouldn't be putting my first and last name out there because I didn't want my high school classmates to know. So luckily from the rip, I didn't have my first and last out there. And I had a few buddies back home that called me Lucky. And then Lucky was taken. And so then on Twitter, I just became Jake Sucky, which turned out to be a good play on words because people love to rag on me, and it's okay.
And you grew up corn-fed and bred in Des Moines, Iowa, I believe?
Heck yeah.
What was it like growing up in Des Moines?
I mean, it's a flyover state, so usually when I say freaking Iowa, people are like, what? That's an actual place, and oftentimes it gets replaced with Idaho, but no, I love it. I absolutely love going back home. I'm in Vegas now, but I feel like it's become kind of like a little fun fact for a Midwesterner. If I ever meet someone from the Midwest, they're like, oh, Iowa. So I love it, man. That's where home is. And yeah, I always love going back.
Heck yeah, man. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, so I'm not far from Des Moines.
That's Midwest.
That's why we clicked right away. So any memories from growing up in Des Moines at all that you can remember as a child?
I mean, I played a few sports. I was always mediocre at sports, but I got around. So always loved being outside, playing on the playground out back or playing football with the boys. But I was always a JV athlete at everything. So, but I feel like that's a sweet spot to be because you don't have any expectations for you and you're like decent enough to do it in your free time.
Yeah.
But notable, I had a lot of time with family and friends, and maybe that's a Midwest thing, but all my notable memories are either with family or friends.
Nice, yeah. And then so when you're moving into high school, are you still playing sports in high school, I assume, since you said JV or?
Yeah, playing's a rich word. I was a fifth quarter football guy.
There we go.
If people don't know fifth quarter, that's for the guys who come off the bench at the very last second. So I was a big morale guy. Like, you know how like in middle school, everyone can compete in sports and you're all at the same level and you might even be able to play both ways. And then you get to high school and you're like, oh, there's a lot bigger, faster dudes than me. So I quickly quit football for cross country and track. And I would say I was decent at that. Like that's where I met all my eventual best friends, all my hometown friends. So nice. I can hang when it comes to running, but anything else, not for me.
Yeah. And then what about school itself? Did you enjoy school itself? Were you a good student?
I've been back and forth on this. I don't know about you, but at the time,
if you guys are enjoying this interview, please subscribe. We have a lot more on the way.
You know, the first time going through school, I think I was a decent student, and I had I didn't mind it. But now looking back on it, I'm like, how did we all do that? I could never have done it again. But I was a decent student. I got a twin sister. She's like the genius of the bunch. So like I had to try and keep up with her to impress my parents.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind school at the time. But now looking back on it, I don't know how kids sit through 8 hours every single day.
Yeah, I hated it at the time, and I know I could not go back and do it. I'm definitely the kid. I'm definitely the adult now who still has dreams about like being in high school, and they're always nightmares of just like the school part of it. But like the social aspect I loved, obviously, I'm pretty social, but.
Dude, I was just talking to my homie about this literally yesterday, how I still have nightmares about forgetting my locker code.
100%. Yeah. Or like I'll have this weird recurring dream where it's like, I go to school and like then I'm like, oh wait, I haven't gone to this class in like a month and I have no idea what's going on. And I'm like, oh man, I'm in so much trouble because I'm not gonna know how to do it on the test. And like I don't know, it's a whole thing, but it's funny.
Like that, or like it's like not having the answer. Like you have a test in front of you and you submit it without putting down any of the answers. There's so many. It's trauma, dude.
Yeah, no shit. We must have been traumatized for sure. And I didn't know you were a twin, but you're actually the second twin I've interviewed. I just interviewed Joe on the last interview, and he's a twin as well.
Dude, I feel like he has told me that multiple times, and I just can't fathom that because I feel like I would have, because I had the lucky chance to talk to him a while back as well, and that never came up. So that's crazy. And I watched your interview and I still didn't pick. So maybe I just like look past other twins.
Yeah, it's funny too because he said the exact same thing. His sister's the genius. He had to keep up with his sister educationally in school and stuff. So you guys have a lot in common.
Great guy.
Yeah. What do you do on the weekends in Iowa in high school?
Am I able to take a?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Because you and me, am I able to show this? I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Because that's how you and me first bonded. We were reaching out, talking about, hey, every time you reply to my tweet, I'm gonna take a drink for you. What do we do on the weekend in high school in Iowa?
Yeah, because I assume most people are just envisioning you guys like in the middle of a cornfield playing baseball or drinking, I would assume.
I did not even drink till I was 21, which might be shocking for people who know me now. So I was not doing that in high school, and I had a good group of friends who were like somehow the same way. So we were big sports focused. So ironically, it was not a cornfield, but we were playing baseball, we were playing football. A lot of the things, because this gaming phase had hit a bit later than us being in high school. So it was just doing a lot of athletics with the boys, all hanging out in backyards and just chatting it up. It was like just going outside,
Yeah. Did you have jobs growing up then all through high school or?
Yeah. My first ever job was handing out flyers for a local ramen company. I don't know if this was even legal. I was like 13 at the time, and they recruited me and my friends for like $10 an hour. And we would just go around town putting pamphlets in people's windshield wipers and doors. And I don't think that's allowed anymore. And they went out of business shortly after, but I still got my $10 an hour for a good first summer. But I actually started streaming RuneScape pretty early on in high school. So after I was working a job on I was working a job on a farm. But then I started streaming RuneScape as a part-time job. And once I was making more playing RuneScape, I slowly kind of weaned off working at the farm.
Yeah. I mean, the way I grew up, like basically in the summer, every able-bodied male would be helping harvest tobacco right before football practice, go right from there to football practice, and then usually 2 days in summer. Like definitely something that they probably wouldn't do today, but we were working in the summer in the sun all day long. But
yeah, I've never harvested tobacco, but I've baled hay. So
yeah, it's probably just
one
as
and the
hard.
same.
Yeah. And yeah, that leads me perfectly into the next question I was going to ask you is you did start streaming RuneScape in high school, I read. Remember how you got introduced into RuneScape?
Man, that's a great question. Because all my earliest memories of gaming are RuneScape. I don't remember the initial bounce into it. I just know that all my friends at the time, because this was back to grade school, and no one was ashamed at that time of playing video games. We were all playing RuneScape. Yeah. And I remember I had a buddy, because we were all playing free to play, but I had a buddy. He was doing well for himself. He had membership. And so we would go over to his house to experience what the membership lifestyle was like. And he was picking flax and going to areas I couldn't even explore. And I was like, yo, I got to try and convince somebody somewhere, aka my parents, to help me pay for membership. And so me and my twin sister actually played RuneScape for a good while. And this might be a terrible story, but her first ever account was made by me, and it was her first and last name. It was a full dox. It was her first and last name with a 0 at the end. And because I didn't think any better of it.
Yeah.
So that was just, I don't know the initial memory, but I played that for the first 4 or 5 years, absolutely addicted.
Nice. And how'd you know, what was your first introduction to streaming? And how'd you know that was even a thing to do? Do you remember that? Or did you just always grow up knowing that streaming was a thing?
Yeah, another solid question, because it's testing my memory. It would have to have been a big RuneScape streamer who all of a sudden had either tweeted or had done something on social media saying they were live. I remember back to the Nightmare RH days, and there's a couple other names who have definitely been canceled since then, but some crazy RuneScape guys who you saw clips and you were like, where is this from? And so eventually would tune into live streams. And then I was making YouTube videos, so got a few comments being like, hey, maybe you should live stream. And so it was kind of a natural thing since seeing that other people do it.
Nice. And then after high school, you went to college. Where'd you go to school again?
Iowa State, baby. Roll clones, if
there
anyone knows.
Go.
Where'd you go?
I went to University of Wisconsin.
Okay, I could have guessed it.
Yeah. Oh God, you guys had maybe it wasn't Iowa State. Cynical Wall. Did you go to Iowa State or Bowling Green? It's Iowa State, right? Yeah. I remember playing in NCAA. It was my team. Honestly, I probably played with him so many times in NCAA. So, and then you go to college.
You went to UWISC, dude. So
Yeah.
you definitely know how to throw down.
Oh, dude. I mean, yeah, we number
guys
one
got a
party
great-
school in the nation. So
Yeah, and then good, really, really great hockey. Obviously football too, but hockey too, right?
yeah, hockey's always been good. Football was good, then now bad, but they're kind of always up and down mediocre. I think NIL might be tough for them, but yeah, hockey's always good. So we got that, and basketball is usually pretty decent too. But yeah, in college, then I think you started playing CS:GO in college, then, which I think I read was like your first introduction to FPS games. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you do your research, man. It was RuneScape all through high school, only MMOs. Wasn't really experimenting with too much, and then it was not until my junior year of college where I found CS. A couple of my dorm mates, my eventual roommates, were playing Counter-Strike, and they were like, "Yo, this skin is worth money," and I just opened a case and got it, and I just got this from a drop in game, and so I was like, wait. I can have skins in this game that are worth money. That's interesting.
Right.
And so I started playing, and I was like, this game is hard. FPS games are freaking hard. But instantly fell in love, just like similar with RuneScape, with the economy of a game like that, you know, where you can technically own these items that increase in value, and you might not be able to legally trade them in real life, but that was a cool mechanic, right? The economy of a game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I guess you kind of answered it, because I was going to ask you, were you good at CSGO as a player, or were you more just passionate about, like, it was just fun to play, you were more casual?
Me at video games is like me at sports. Like I told you before, man, I'm a JV gamer. You know, I would never be the top notch of my group. And I feel like, especially nowadays, maybe you can relate, I don't have enough time to dedicate to one game. I kind of dabble in many.
Yeah.
And so back in the day when I peaked at Counter-Strike, I would say I was slightly above average, which isn't saying much, and I wasn't even the best in my friend group still. So
Yeah.
a game like that is die hard. Like if you play CS,
For
you
sure.
probably only play CS for most players.
Yeah, I would agree. And then, but it might have been a good thing in disguise, because then you started CSGO News, I believe it's called. How did that idea come about, and what was like your goals when you started that?
Yeah, I just remember one spring break. I don't remember why I wanted to do that. I would have to imagine the inkling came from, I had a RuneScape YouTube channel, and then once I kind of tailed off that game, I had nothing else really to do, so I picked up Counter-Strike, and I was like, maybe this is a possible thing to do as well with news coverage or content, whatever. So I remember one spring break, I was watching my buddy's dogs at his house. So I was all alone, had nothing to do all day. And all of a sudden I was like, I should just make a CS news video. So I made it out of his washroom. I made it with my iPhone out of his washroom. I don't know if it's still out there. And it was the cringiest, worst video of all time. But it got like 200 views. And that's all it took, where I was like, this is something. If I can do this out of a washroom, if I can officialize this in any way. And it was the best decision that I've ever made. Like that's back to the time of content where I had actually thought of something, and it formed into something that it wasn't tremendously big, but it grew into something that meant something to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for the first time I was like, whoa, I did something, people enjoy it. And it kind of got a really good feeling, you know?
Yeah, that's really cool. And then I guess that kind of leads me back to my question. So you were streaming RuneScape in high school and making YouTube videos. Were you making any, I mean, what was the money like? Like, were you able to survive on that and not have a summer job based on just the RuneScape streaming? And then I'll ask you basically the same question for the CSGO News. But
yeah, that was the gist of it. I mean, the only goal when I was streaming RuneScape in high school was to make more than a summer job, which when you're in high school is not a difficult thing to do. I mean, it's not easy by any means, but if you can make at that time $2,000-$3,000 across an entire summer, you're doing better than you would at most jobs, right? And working physically a lot less. So that was the goal. I didn't expect to achieve it by any means, right? I was always going to maintain a job, even if I didn't make it work streaming.
yeah,
But I would say fairly early on into RuneScape, I was lucky enough to find some pretty dedicated viewers who could tell that I was a high schooler. I wanted to stream RuneScape. I didn't want to work a job. And as you know, like it only takes a few people who really want to help you achieve that to give you $50 here, $100 here, and all of a sudden that's a whole week's paycheck. I'm just going to double down and spend more time doing this.
Yep.
So long story short, I would say in high school, I was probably making $2,000 to $3,000 per summer by streaming RuneScape, which to me at the time blew my mind. Like it was the coolest thing. that only a few people that I was friends with in high school I ever told about. They actually found out like half a decade later.
And so obviously that wasn't enough to like make a living, obviously. So you go to college. I forgot to ask you, what did you go to school for? What was like your plan when you grew up, what you were going to do?
My first ever job I wanted to do was a construction worker. That was just a kid's dream because I was a kid.
Yeah.
Then I thought maybe real estate. And then I was like something marketing and management. So I went for a double major, marketing and management. That's what I ended with as well.
Nice.
And pretty basic when it comes to the College of Business, right? That kind of gives you you're in the door. You're not any of the supply chain management. You're not the finance bros, but you're kind of. I did well in a very pretty basic couple of majors.
Yeah. So that's your plan, but you start CS:GO your junior year, and then I assume you're getting ready to graduate, or you're going into your senior year. What's the decision then on what you're going to do then? If you're going to go into kind of content, or if you're going to go into like the business side of things? What was that thought process like? What did your parents think? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think for anyone listening that is trying to pursue esports, gaming, streaming, those junior, senior years of college are so crucial because that's where all the judgment comes from, like outside sources, right? My parents are the best in the world, but regardless, they expect you to like be looking for jobs or be applying for jobs around that time. Mm-hmm. So that was a very stressful period because everyone's coming back to class junior and senior year and they're like, I got an offer from so-and-so. I'm going to be doing this. And I'm just sitting there like, I have no idea. So I would say I spent the last 2 years of college really trying to explore like, is this possible? Is this feasible? And I came to the conclusion that I could make subpar money doing CS news, or I could maybe try and work in esports and work in gaming in some way. So I started applying for like the last 12 months and I got rejected by like 45 different companies. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until the summer after I graduated college where out of the blue, this is after denying a random offer in esports that would luckily I didn't take. Out of the blue, the job application for Esports Talk came through. And this was basically, instead of doing CS news, this was esports news. So a broader base covering all esports, all gaming. And I was like, I have a channel that could be my resume to apply for this job. So it was complete luck because I was very stressed out at that point in my life.
Yeah. And so esports news, you're starting your career with them. They accept your application, obviously, and you're starting with them. How big were they, I guess, when you first started working with them? Were they unknown, brand new startup, or were they already established?
They were a brand new startup. I was, I think, their second employee aside from the team manager. So they were completely off the ground, and that's what kind of excited me. Along with, I didn't know this, it was even a thing. There's not many esports news networks out there. So to give them credit, they were one of a kind at the time.
Yeah, and they were able to, I assume, pay you at least enough to where you felt comfortable, like, hey, I can at least do this for a while and grow with them and see if it turns into something.
Yeah, I mean, it was an entry-level job, right? And it's like, I wanted to do this. I wanted to talk to a camera. I love just like talking about gaming and esports news. So it was enough to satisfy that. It was no extraordinary amount of money. It's what you expected at the time with an entry-level job. Yeah. But it's like the excitement of like, I have a chance. I could pretty much pay the bills and I could do this. So it was an easy yes.
And you always have the intrigue part of it where it's a startup and you're like, hey, I mean, this thing can keep growing. I can keep growing with it. And that's always exciting too. Do you remember the early days at Esports Talk? Like what are some of the struggles that you guys were going through? What were you guys what were your main goals at the start?
Yeah, I've also, just so you know, I don't get too many interview opportunities, by the way, not nowadays, but I don't take them too often. So it's kind of, I don't know what I'm going to say, but it's refreshing to relive these kind of things. But yeah, back in the day when we first started, it was a different mentality because this was right before esports really started taking off. This is a good year and a half before all that. So I walk in, we have this empty office. There's like 4 of us dudes. And like when you show up, they're like, so what's the plan? Like we didn't have a YouTube channel. We didn't have a Twitter. For the first month there, I was just writing news articles in my notebook and just saying like, oh, I would make a video on this. Here's my talking points. Here's what I would do. And it was really just kind of trying to finalize the team of, we got a team leader. We got the video guy, that's me. But we also have an editor/producer, that's Petey Boy. And then some other extracurriculars there too. So, I mean, it was esports and gaming was still very unknown at the time, and this is an owner who like just wanted to support the gaming space, so there was no real direction. It was kind of just coming together and being like, yo, what can we all do? And eventually it turned into, all right, obviously we need a YouTube channel, we're going to cover daily news, and then we need a Twitter to get the clips and interviews out there. And it kind of just slowly developed from there.
Mm-hmm. And did you have your personal Twitter at that time? Or I would say your personal Twitter is like a huge, valuable asset that you have. Did that start at the same time, or did you already have that going before that?
Yeah, I had my personal Twitter for CS News. It was the same concept and same account, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I eventually like later renamed it to Jake Sucky instead of just being CS News or whatever it was.
Sure.
But I had my Twitter, but it was around probably 5 to 10K followers. And throughout most of my time with Esports Talk, I wasn't very heavy on Twitter. I was very focused on sharing most things on YouTube. It wasn't until the latter parts of Esports Talk where I was like, oh, I can post this stuff and clip it up and post it on my Twitter alongside the big YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. And what's the first then jump for esports news where you say, you guys didn't really know what you were doing at the start. You kind of just formulating ideas. You come up with a game plan. You start your YouTube channel. What's the first jump off where you guys are like, hey, this thing could actually work?
Yeah, I always tell people, like, especially nowadays, you don't ever know when your day is going to come. You never know when you are right around the corner from something really blowing you up and changing your entire direction. We spent an entire year without a single video breaking 5,000 views. Like I think our first yearly revenue was like for the entire year, like 10 grand and multiple employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're just trying our best to build this YouTube channel, taking no sponsors, taking no ads, just pushing out as many videos as possible. The worst videos of all time, especially to start it out. We had different graphics, different sets. We tried this for a whole year. And then eventually YouTube was like, yo, these guys are uploading 3 videos every single day. Let's start recommending. And you notice that after a while, and especially this coincided with the rise of esports. So people were looking for more esports gaming and streaming news. And so eventually they're like, once you get that traction, you got 3 videos a day, you're automatically going to be in that recommended and more of the explore page. So it was a very slow churn.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's a surprise I'm going to say this, but the biggest real turning point we saw was the Dr. Disrespect ban from Twitch. That was, at the time, like just groundbreaking news. We were the first ones to cover it within 30 minutes of it dropping, and that turned the trajectory of the whole channel. And I don't think it's very shocking for me to say that. I mean, I think we doubled our subs in a single week after that. And then people really realized, okay, this guy's insane. He really just uploads 3 videos a day and has no other life outside of this. And I think that was, I'm guessing here, that was easy to attach to. Like, this guy is crazy about gaming esports. And people started to enjoy, like, me being a little bit of a weirdo. Like, all I did was talk about gaming for 3 years,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit more than that. I mean, I personally enjoy the way you do content because you add a humor side of it, but you also add like a personal side of it. And this might be more of an evolution from esports news to kind of your personal Twitter, but the way you interact with people that are commenting on it and the way you kind of approach it, I think has a lot to do with that success as well.
So I wish people saw more. I wish people had the banter you and me had. Like, if people met me at an event, you would realize, dude, crack a beer with me. Let's have some fun. Even if I've met a lot of haters in real, not too many, but I've met some haters in real life that by the end of the conversation, you got dudes saying, hey man, I like how you took that hate. And I'm like, that's chill. Like, you want another beer? I wish people could meet their creators and streamers, even if they do or don't like them, in person, because I don't get many opportunities to show that side of things, right? People just see a tweet about someone doing something controversial.
Yeah.
I would agree. Personality has a big take on it, but a lot of people don't get to see that side of people.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that from some of the content. We'll kind of get into that too. Okay, esports news is growing. Your personal brand is growing because obviously you're the face of esports news, and I'm assuming your personal Twitter is growing at that time as well. You're with esports news for 4 years. It comes to an end. What is the ending? Why do you guys decide to split up? I assume you were taking a lot of pride in helping grow a brand, so something happened. Obviously, how did everything come to an end there?
Yeah, I've never due to legal reasons, I've never actually fully disclosed all of the things and probably never will. Also, it's so far in the past now that I'm personally over it, but it still impacts my life. You know, it's
Sure.
it's a weird time to look back on. But by the end there, I would say the gist of it was, and can't fully fault ownership for wanting to do this, but they were trying to expand, right? At a time where they saw the channel was skyrocketing. It was growing. I think in my last year there, the channel quadrupled, or over 350% growth. So it was pretty, I mean, it was crazy. And people were thinking the sky is the limit. Meanwhile, in the back of my mind, I was like, a plateau is probably coming, guys. You can't expect this every year. And so they were trying to expand, add on a bunch of new talent. The thing is, in this esports and gaming content space, like, you can't just add on anyone to a YouTube channel and have people adapt to that person. Like, it's as sad as it is, and they are great people, like, it's not easy, right? And so it was this weird last year of like them trying to add more and more talent. And I was like, what's my like future role gonna be then? Because like we can only do so many things at once. Like I can only work so many hours. I would say the biggest point of contention, I think I've already said this publicly, is I wanted to be paid more. I wasn't making a lot, and my workload was extreme, and the channel grew tremendously. And so I knew what the industry standard was, and I asked for around that, which is, I can't say numbers, but it was fair.
Sure.
And pretty much that conversation led back to a stark ending where pretty much they said no. Here's what we're gonna pay you, and it just wasn't like. At this point, I was like, hey, I can't do this for the rest of my life and actually earn a living. Right. So it didn't make sense. And so I had to come to a conclusion that back then, when I was 25, 26, 27 years old, I was like, I can't make this a career with this money. Like, I'm living in a different state, away from home. I'm renting a different apartment every single year for 6 years straight. Like, I'm barely saving any money. And so at the end of the day, it came down to a variety of things, but money was obviously a big one, and direction for what we wanted to do and achieve. So sorry for the long yap sesh. I don't never really know how to word it.
No, that was perfect. Yeah.
Very, very difficult time. And I can't fully fault them. It's a business, right? They got to make money. But the parting of ways was extremely bitter. It was very, very bad. And so eventually, after some things went down, I decided to step away from Esports Talk. And shortly after that, so too did some of my good buddies. I can't really speak for them, but shortly after I stepped down, so too did a couple others. And everything went from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always important to know your worth, and you knew your worth and you asked for it, and that's really all you can do. And then they have to make a business decision after that, and that makes sense. It's not always pretty when it comes to that kind of stuff, but I think what you said
not pretty.
I think what you said is really true too. Like, the first thing that came to my mind is like when Jon Stewart left The Daily Show. Like, yeah, there was other super talented people that helped take over that role, but it never really, there's no way their numbers didn't drop off like crazy and people stopped watching because they're used to the face that they were watching every single day. So, it makes a lot of sense to me. So when you did leave esports news, it's actually interesting because someone that you mentioned previously, Dr. Disrespect, actually tweeted at you pretty soon after that to say, let's talk. Did anything come from that? Like, what were those talks like? What were you guys? Did you guys have plans? Maybe you can't talk about it, but I was always interested in that tweet. Like, oh, okay, this is cooking something.
Yeah, I mean, the discussions didn't go very far because I had already taken a separate opportunity, fully knowing that was probably the more viable option for me.
Sure.
Were there legitimate talks? Do I assume would have been there? Yes, I assume that could have been a thing at the time. But there was another option on the table, which I eventually took, that involved some stuff. It helped me to leave my situation at that time. Okay. Skirting around some words there.
Sure.
But yeah, there weren't deep discussions. I think that would have been a fun project to pursue. But what I want to do news, man. I want to talk about gaming, and so there was really only other viable options outside of Doc.
Nice. And then so soon after that, you did start Gaming World News, which is your own company. I don't know what opportunity you were doing in between there, or if you can talk about it at all. But yeah, I know eventually you started Gaming World News. What was your goal when you started that company?
I'll jump in between real quick just to give them a shout. Full Squad Gaming, those boys saved me. It's former NRG Grady, if you know Grady Rains.
Okay.
Amazing creative mind. Will always have respect for him. And my boy Ben, they're still working together now, but they were at Full Squad with me and they pulled me over. And shouts to Andy Miller, if you know Andy Miller, CEO of NRG. Dude saved me. And we haven't really talked since because unfortunately I decided to leave Full Squad to do my own thing, as you said. And again, it's tough going your separate ways, but I got nothing but respect for Andy Miller. That dude saved me. So if he ever wants to talk again, I always have respect for him, one of the better CEOs in the business. But I was with Full Squad Gaming for just over a year. Definitely was more focused on short form content and TikTok. We had our own news channel over there. And evidently this is the complicated part, right? I'm on my 5th YouTube channel now. So it's like, it's been a strenuous road of like these ups and downs of I've been taking these jobs because I needed security. Like I needed a salary because I'm trying to pay rent.
Right.
But after Full Squad Gaming, those are great guys. After I left, a couple other dudes left to do their own thing. So it's hard not to reconcile and be like, I think I still made the right decision to own my own thing, which is currently Gaming World Media. That's our media company. We're just coming up on about 2 years now, but it's just me and 2 other dudes, and we own the business. And that was the main thing that was driving me. It took me 6 or 7 years into this weird career to realize that, okay, if I'm going to have a future in this, if I want to do this for a decade plus, I have to own something, because ultimately I can't be on the whim of these guys paying me a salary. And once I mess up or dip off, they're going to let me go and I'll have nothing of my own. So that's the biggest thing. I hope no hard feelings, but I had to own something, right? Like I had something I can lay back on.
Absolutely. And so I know that you guys, one of your big things is you kind of tour to all these esports events, and you're doing a lot of like live interviews and just covering those live events. What's the reaction been to you guys like at those events?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing. When I was first at Esports Talk for the first 3 years, dude, I went to one event. I don't even know if I went to one. I might have lied to you. I went to one event. I got real anxiety, and that might be COVID stricken, but I get really nervous going to events, and I still do. But I went to none. And all my interviews back then were remote, none in person. And all of a sudden, we're now 5 years down the road, and we just wanted to go to events and show people, show people the players, show people what's going on, all the reactions. And it's been amazing. I don't think that model has really caught on yet because it's still fairly niche. But this past year, we went to 15 events in like 12 different cities. I traveled more this last year than I have in my entire life. And for an Iowa boy, it's been extremely fun and rewarding. On the business end, it is still development of trying to make these things work because they do cost a lot of money. But it's been super fun, dude. Like meeting people face to face is the best.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like you would know, like you just have that great like mentality about you. Like when someone comes up to you, you dap them up. You'd be like, "What's up, man? Mimosa?" And you'd be like, "Want to get a beer?" So it's like,
exactly, yeah.
It is so, even if it's brief, it's so rewarding to like meet people face to face who are like, "I know you from RuneScape News, CS:GO News, or like Esports Talk, the Glory Days." That's cool. Even if they don't keep up with your stuff to this day, they knew you at one point and they remember your face, and that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like going to TwitchCon or going to World Series of Warzone or any of the the COD CDL events has always been the best part of kind of being in this scene, because you just get to meet the people in real life and dap them up, like you said, and have a beer for any of them that drink. So it's always fun.
How'd you like World Series of Warzone?
I thought so.
Hey man, we got to get more of a crowd involved with
exactly. That's what I was gonna say.
Come on,
yeah.
What are we doing?
I don't know, man. The crowd was small. The event itself was fine, I guess, but yeah, the crowd size I was hoping would be a lot bigger, but it wasn't. But
I won't say anything. But Call of Duty, you have the fixes in your bag, dude.
Yeah. Yes. Call of Duty if you're watching.
Love you, Call of Duty. You guys, I mean, I know I hate a lot, but you guys are obviously geniuses.
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome to meet everyone. I mean, that was obviously the best part. And that's the best part of anything for me. Like the event itself, like CDL does a great job. And I go there and I'm just like, okay, this is fine. But, you know, it's really just the connections you make with everyone that I like the best anyway. So,
yeah. And Warzone people are also a special group. Those are good peeps. There's not, I mean, there's ego, but it ain't your Counter-Strike or your other esport ego. If you have interacted with some of those guys online, they will talk to you in person. And so, from my perspective, that's a great scene. We were at the Esports World Cup. Those guys are chill.
Yeah. And so going back to what you're kind of doing day to day now, what's like a typical work day for you? I guess outside of when you're doing events, like what's your typical work day? Because obviously you don't have a typical job. You know, what's your typical work day like?
Yeah. Typical work day. I wake up probably around like 6 a.m. I've always been an early riser,
which is surprising for someone in this industry. Like normally they're like, yeah, I wake up around 3 p.m.
I don't got those gamer hours. I love the morning hours, dude. So if I could wake up earlier, I would. So I'm probably around 6 a.m. Sometimes earlier, sometimes a bit later. Get my coffee in me, dude, and I'm at my PC right away. I go downstairs, I go on my PC, and I'm probably doing the YouTube videos, TikTok, you know, the regimented stuff for the first 3 hours of the day, and then I'm on Twitter and Twitch, and I'm just watching stuff as long as I possibly can. And the event schedule has definitely interfered with a lot of that as much as I could spend online before, but I'm just at my PC all day or on my phone all day, which, now that I say it out loud, is not a very braggadocious thing. It's a tough life waking up at 6 a.m. and staying on my phone all day.
Yeah, and I mean, it is kind of weird because like you're kind of an esports news insider, which is kind of like if you're relating it to other sports, like an Adam Schefter, for example. And so you're never really off the clock because when news drops, you have to be on it right away so that you make sure that your coverage of it gets the most exposure, basically. Like you got to be almost the first to the news. So how do you balance that with like your normal life work balance?
Yeah, I've also seen that comparison. I don't want to do disservice to like actual journalists because I get a lot of hate from that side of things. I'm not a journalist. I've never said that I am. I just like to talk about things. So I don't want to do a disservice to those guys who work just off the clock as well. And I honestly forgot your original question. I just wanted to get the focus out that I'm not a journalist. I don't claim to be.
Yeah. No, I mean, journalist, not journalist, but you are kind of a breaking news type of Twitter account at least, right? I mean, I know you're covering a lot of different news and it's not always necessarily breaking, but I assume if something's breaking, like Dr. Disrespect gets banned from Twitch, you're trying to be the first person to kind of tweet about that, right? So there's obviously, you're still on the clock kind of always, at least in the back of your head, like, oh man, did something break? Did something break? So I was just kind of curious, you know, how do you balance that with your work and your life?
I got my notifications on all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, yes, now I remember the original. Off the clock for sure. It's definitely a lot of like on and off, right? So usually after the morning when I do that first 3-4 hours, if I have that free time in the morning that I'm caught up, I have videos scheduled out, I'll do my workout right then and there. I'll do a morning workout so I'm back in my office by 11 or noon. And I'm always watching. Call that too much time on my hands. But yeah, I'm definitely a bit OCD in the way that I have notifications on for all the proper people, all the proper channels, and I'm always refreshing Twitter to a fault. I have this thing that I don't know if anyone else does. I just like click the home button sometimes. It's bad, dude.
Yeah.
But I'm constantly watching it, and I'm always watching a YouTube video, whether it be an interview, like the stuff you do. I watch any interview with any streamer I'll watch, and at any stream I'll watch all day long. So maybe that's a bit meticulous, but like you said, when something breaks, there's going to be 3 other accounts on it at all times. So you're just trying to be that person.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any tools or anything that you use to help you with that, or is it mostly just manually
I'm dumb.
refreshing?
I just use the refresh button.
Yeah.
I should be using technology, man.
And yeah, you kind of talked about it. You cover all esports, which is pretty cool. You know, like a lot of times, like, you know, Modern Warzone, for example, just covers Call of Duty for the most part. It dabbles a little bit, but I mean, you're covering everything. So I got to ask you about the different fan bases in the different esports. You know, what fan base for which game would you say is the most passionate about that game?
Most passionate. Ooh. This is a tricky one You want to tread carefully.
You don't want to offend anyone, but there's got to be people who are just like, hey, if they're putting on an event or if they're doing anything, these fans are going to be there no matter what.
The most ravenous fans online are Optic Gaming fans. And
Okay.
I don't believe that there's actual contention with that if you're looking at a North American audience. If you tweet anything poorly about Optic Gaming, you will know about it within minutes. So I would say in that lens, but then you also have, but if we're looking for esport particular, I would say Counter-Strike is still those people that they expect you to be correct to a T. If you say so-and-so went here for this reason, you better have that spelled and formatted to a T because they will chop you to bits. They will be like, no, that player said this in 2016. You're an idiot. You don't remember that? So I'll say Counter-Strike, but I think that there's a lot of esports that have those freaking diehards, which is great.
Yeah, and in terms of like passion, in terms of they're showing up, like we talked about World Series of Warzone, how the crowd kind of really wasn't there. Which esport just you never have to worry about? You know the crowd is they're selling out everything, and those fans are going crazy all the time.
Fans you never have to worry about.
About showing up, basically. Like they're going to list an event, it's going to sell out immediately, and people are going to be there.
Yeah, I think you would have to go with your top dogs of like League of Legends and Counter-Strike. But I'll throw a sleeper in there. Smite. Those are my peeps over there.
Nice.
All right. They got 4,000 people on Steam, but they can sell 4,000 tickets to a LAN event. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good conversion rate.
Yeah, exactly. What esport, in your opinion, has the smallest skill gap between an actual pro and just a fan?
That is a great question, by the way.
Thank you.
Wow, that's a fire question. Oh my God. Smallest skill gap between... Dude, you're trying to get me in trouble.
I mean, it might be Call of Duty, and that's my main, I won't be offended, but I mean, it might be. In terms of games that actually have an esports league, and then just the skill gap between the pros and their fans.
I think a fair answer here, and I mean no offense, would be Warzone.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, and they're constantly trying to make it small as possible, so... It's part of their goal. Because
if we're going to Call of Duty base, you can't argue against the CDL versus the Warzone, because I think there's more transferability there. And I think I got to go Warzone. But part of me almost wanted to say Fortnite, but then Fortnite's also cracked to the top level, but it also has more entries. So because they have the cash cups, they have a lot more events open to them. So. But that might be offensive to the Fortnite community. Dude,
I mean, we're fully admitting there's levels no matter what. Like the pros are going to stomp, 99.99999%. But I mean, just the skill gap in between. I mean, it seems like it is Warzone's mission to make it as small as possible versus other games don't always focus on that. Yeah,
I'll go Warzone, but also because they just they want that casual aspect. So they're making it difficult on their boys.
In terms of the esports themselves, which esport do you think runs the smoothest league? They have like just the best league that they're running.
Counter-Strike.
Okay. Any reason why in particular?
ESL and Blast. You could argue that ESL has a pretty strong foothold, and people can argue both ways about that. But the fact we have an ESL, we have a Blast, we sometimes have other big TOs constantly running events in Counter-Strike that constantly have big teams and constantly get big viewership. It's not your League Worlds. Obviously, League could be a contender for Worlds and MSI and what they do. But Counter-Strike consistently has the best events. So I'd probably die on that hill.
Okay. And I was going to ask you next, who has the best LAN events that you go to, whether it's like the most fun or just the best events in general. Everything is quality.
I have not yet been to a League Worlds. It would be hard to argue against League of Legends Worlds. I have been to Counter-Strike Majors, and I think that would have to be a strong... that has to be up there. And then maybe a sleeper for some would be Rainbow Six. Rainbow Six Siege had their international last year. I believe it was in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Nice.
Almost 14,000 people packed out, sweaty, half naked.
Dang.
That is probably the best event I have ever been to. That will never happen again.
I think I probably know the answer to this, but what esport do you like watching the most personally?
I'd be liking Should I hit you with that sleeper? Age of Empires 2.
Nice. I mean, I thought for sure you were going to say Counter-Strike just based on your history.
I've said too much CS. There's a lot of sleepers out there. Age of Empires 2 is incredible, by the way. They have a lot of freaking tournaments. And then I would say Counter-Strike.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's fair. Esports orgs have a lot of history of failing or needing to make mergers to stay alive. I guess first of all, can you explain to people how esports orgs make money just in general?
Yeah, so a lot of them have a tough time making money, and throughout the COVID years, a lot of them were only making money through cash injections, right? So a lot of these guys are trying to make money through not the actual esports business, but businesses which are tied to said esports business, right? You see that with the 100 Thieves, they're trying to push their merch, at one point trying to push a game, and also trying to push a drink. And so a lot of these companies, I would say, are trying to figure out how many companies can we center around esports being the marketing engine for. So you have TSM, who has several companies underneath them, and they actually make a decent chunk of change despite, and even then, how many layoffs they have had, right? I believe it's the Blitz app that they own, which is one of their biggest forms of revenue. You look at Team Liquid with Liquipedia and other things. So there aren't a lot of ways for esports teams to actually make money to begin with, right? Outside of their sponsors, whether it be peripherals and drinks and all that. So a lot of them are trying to make these side companies where their esports team then becomes the marketing arm for said project. So as it sounds, it's pretty freaking difficult unless you have a diehard audience, right?
Yeah.
To break even, especially because these player salaries are so exorbitant. Even still to this day, it's unfathomable how expensive it is to get into an esport like Counter-Strike. Like, unless you have a big gambling sponsor, you can't really be in Counter-Strike right now. And the same could be said for a lot of esports that don't offer enough revenue to suffice for paying for top people. Long story short, it is incredibly difficult. I think everyone is still trying to figure it out. And we have a few mantelpieces right now in esports that are doing a good job, but it's not going to be good enough. So everyone's chasing each other.
And why do you think it is so hard? Like, why can't it be more how traditional companies who rely on impressions make money with just traditional sponsorships and things like that? Why do you think they have to go the route of creating their own kind of companies so that they can use the esports team as a marketing arm, where other traditional companies who rely on impressions don't have to go that route?
Yeah, and I just want to stress, this is my opinion, all right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I'm a dumb guy, so I'm not a CEO over there. I've met a lot of these guys. They are freaking smart people, and I am sure that they will figure this out over the next 10 years, and the market will continue to change. But, like, it's not like traditional sports. You don't have TV/streaming rights to really back end the entire process. So you look at the Dallas Cowboys or any NFL team, how much they're making off of media rights is insane. No esports team has that ability. So it's like, I remember looking it up a while back, but how many billions in media rights do these sports teams get? Esports doesn't have those kind of numbers to back itself. So we're left to find these other avenues, which are very difficult. And it's just so, I'm sure other people are going to have thoughts on this, but it's so difficult to attach to an esports team when you're constantly changing rosters and you have multiple rosters. If you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, they can lock down a quarterback and they can have you as a fan for life. If you are an esports organization, that means you need to keep your scump forever. You need to keep Nadeshot forever. You need to keep Double Lift. Oh, wait, he wants to go somewhere else? Okay, so do his fans. So it's so much harder for an esports team who is spread out across multiple sports compared to a big conglomerate who gets media rights. So I think the big defining factor for me is those media rights, and I'm sure there's a lot more intricate details there. But yeah, I mean, esports teams have to figure out so many things that are just new.
Yeah. And I don't know a lot about the business side of it. Like, I mean, I have a business background myself, but like in terms of like how esports makes money and things like that, I haven't looked into it a ton, but it just seems like the opportunity should be there. Like, you know, like you said, like Fox pays the NFL X amount of dollars and that money is distributed through, you know, to all the teams based on all the deals that they've made. Is esports not making those kind of deals with YouTube or Twitch or anything like that for like the rights to stream those, or is that just not how it works right now?
Well, they were, but it was going to the freaking publishers or devs. So like Activision's making a deal with YouTube and they're taking that money, and maybe that sprinkles across the teams, right? But I don't think it's a substantial amount. Also, I mean, we're gamers. We don't like paying for things. Twitch has been free for a decade plus.
Yeah.
YouTube as well. We can just watch an ad and then watch the entire season. So, yeah, I don't know where this goes. I mean, at the end of the day, when I talk to owners occasionally or see them at events, I'm always reassured because, hey, these guys have 1 million followers on Twitter and 200K on Instagram. And when they play a match of whatever game, whether it's Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, there's 250,000 people watching. And so somebody out there, when the time comes, they will find a way to be like, there is value in that, because most TV shows you keep on scrolling by, they don't have 250,000 viewers.
No.
So I think a lot of this is grass is greener mentality of these teams are trying to figure things out, but they're also trying to survive long enough where the industry finds it out for them. And we will see however many couple dozen orgs are still left and how this industry shifts with them.
Yeah, and I think I'm in agreement with you. Like, there's the viewers. I mean, they're getting more viewers than a lot of TV shows that are still going on. So there has to be a path to financial stability in esports. And they're just so young that they're just obviously still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, when you're not working, I think you talked a little bit about working out. It's a big part of what you do when you're not working. But, you know, what do you do when you're not working?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, not only do I really enjoy working out, I'm very OCD about it. It's become a mainstay of like mental health.
Yeah.
For sure. So if anyone doesn't work out, I mean, I've been, like we've said, a JV athlete my entire life, but it's been a really big like way for me to escape, to have my own time. And like, I think physical fitness is a big thing for me of like, even if things aren't going well at work, I can look forward to a workout. So being in shape has always been a pretty big thing for me mentally. And so I've been doing it ever since I moved out on my own. It's been a kind of a reoccurring thing. So I go work out probably 4 or 5 times a week. It's not too hard. I definitely have my free time to myself. And then in other free time, I'm gaming, dude. Nice. I'm watching streams. Like I told you earlier, I'm watching every interview. Like I'll watch interviews twice. I just love hearing everyone's perspectives and almost getting to know how people think through interviews. And even watching your stuff, I'll take inspiration of like, that was a freaking good question and that was a great answer. So I'm always trying to take things in. And I guess when it's work, I've always looked at that of like, if I'm playing a video game but I'm watching a stream, I'm working a little bit because I'm listening, I'm waiting for a clip, or I'm learning about people. So again, long story short, working out, playing video games, hanging with my girlfriend, binging TV shows.
There we go.
A couple drinks here and there, man.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's one thing that people who haven't worked out or don't work out like regularly, that they don't always remember or they didn't know in the first place, is like the mental health side of working out is such an advantage. Like if you're stuck in a rut or you feel depressed, and I'm not saying like a workout and you won't have depression anymore, you know, obviously it can be more serious than that, but if you're feeling down, you know, you're in a rut, blah, 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 you start getting in a routine of working out every day, even if it's like 20 minutes or if you're doing 30 minutes a day, your mental health, because of the natural like dopamine release and just everything else, is just, it's such an incredible advantage that I wish more people kind of took advantage of.
I promise you, people, even after a couple of weeks when it becomes routine, dude, DM either of us your progress pictures. We'll respond.
Yeah, of course.
I love seeing that stuff. Like it is a huge thing that people need to take advantage of, especially once we, you know, you and me, we get a little older, you know?
Yep.
Gets a little hard to keep up.
When people post like they're starting a workout journey on Twitter, I'm just like the first person to like those posts. I love it, dude. It's like, hell yeah, man. I see a lot of talk about this neck of yours. You have one of the longest necks, I think. There we go. We got a good look of it. How long is that bad boy? When did this whole neck thing start out?
That's a half stretch, by the way. I started doing neck stretches when I was a kid, and I swear to God, my neck doubled in size. I'm not even kidding. It's actually really bad. I wouldn't suggest doing that, guys. You can actually make your neck longer. My neck was not this long when I first started in gaming. You laugh. I'm not joking.
It's like you see those people that put the necklaces on, they just keep adding a ring to like elongate their neck.
Yeah. It became a thing early on because I'm a pretty scrawny dude. And so I wear a lot of different shirts when I'm doing videos. And so eventually people notice everything about you. Whether it's my red skin, I've always had natural red skin. I got eczema, okay. But beyond my red skin, that was the first thing people noticed and started making like pictures of. It was my neck that really stood out because I got a small, petite frame. And so they're like, yo, you got a long freaking neck. And so it's been a thing for probably 7 years now. Motherfrickers.
It just means people are watching you. So it's a good thing too. You cover a lot of news, and naturally when people cover news, they're going to get hated on, in my opinion, because if you cover news of someone that they like and it happens to be a negative story, not necessarily because it's even your opinion, it's just a negative story, they're going to hate on you for it. What is the story that you covered that generated the most hate for you that you can remember anyway?
This is an easy one. iShowSpeed's clip in Valorant was probably a defining day for me when I posted that on Twitter.
I remember, yeah.
I've never seen those levels of hate before.
Mm-hmm.
That was literally, that changed everything. Those next 48 hours were life-changing, man. That stuff is when I can look back on, and I think I kind of got lost in it. I mean, I wouldn't say I like necessarily regret the moment because, with the clip and all, like, I don't think it was necessarily, it was a tough situation because shortly after that, he got banned for I think a few days on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And people thought he was permanently suspended on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so, of course, naturally, that falls back on me. And I never asked YouTube to do that. I didn't want them to do that. So that was like a moment where I really realized, holy frick, like I didn't mean for it to be that kind of moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't want to affect him in that way. To be, and hey, by the way, checking back in, he has been blowing up for years and years now. Let's get that straight. But after that week, he blew up even tremendously.
Yeah.
And great for, he was going to blow up no matter what, right? But that was a great week for him. That was not a great week for me. So to show you how that situation went, do I regret it? Probably not. I think I could have worded it a lot better. But that was just an eye-opening moment for me where I think I kind of just got lost in it of like, all right, man, you don't got to say or tweet every clip that you see. But I'll tell you what, the DMs I saw, I mean, when you want to talk about a guy who is on top of the world, that being Speed, and has a fan base that you cannot comprehend the DMs that I got. I've gotten a lot of hate over the past decade, and there is still nothing compared to that 48 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys were looking up my high school classmates, DMing them on Instagram. These guys were posting my parents' address online. Obviously, death threats on death threats are fine, but like the other stuff is like, come on.
Yeah.
But that's a level of fandom that I've never intertwined with. I'm covering esports and streamers. Speed is a whole different level. So, yeah, the only big regret I have is that I travel a lot, and I would hate to ever meet Speed and have that moment be like an awkward in between, right? I would like to think that we both, especially me, have grown past that moment. Like, I don't hold any ill will towards the guy based off one Valorant clip, but I wish that situation went differently for sure. And I hope that properly explains it. That was terrible time.
No, that was perfect. I have a personal opinion, but I think you and Speed squashed the beef though, right? Like shortly after that, did you guys?
You never really know. He eventually, I think if I remember correctly, he eventually like apologized on Twitter and like added both me and Team YouTube, but like he shouldn't have had to apologize to me like that.
Sure.
Like I felt even more bad after that. Like I think we're fine but I hope we're fine because that was a moment so long ago. But like I said, like the biggest thing for me is like I don't want to meet people and have them, the creators specifically, and have them be like, oh, that's the guy that covered my Valorant clip, because I've covered a lot of the Speed things since then.
Yeah.
So I think it's squashed. I don't.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I mean, and the thing is, like, you know, at the end of the day, you're just the reporter. It's not like you made up the clip and put it online. Like, you're just reporting things that you think are newsworthy, and that's, you know, essentially your job. So, you know, obviously his fans are going to get really mad at that if it portrays him in a negative light. But at the end of the day, I don't think you did anything wrong there. I think you're just doing your job. And this isn't about Speed specifically, and this is my own opinion, not Jake, so do not attack him. But in my opinion, like, if someone's doing something intentionally for views so they can grow their brand, whether it's your brand is you take outrageous takes, or you're a rage gamer, or you pretend you're cheating so that, you know, people will tweet about it and you're growing your brand that way. If someone then comes after you later on and says, oh, aren't you that cheater? And you're like, oh, you're such an idiot. That was just a branding gimmick. Or if someone says like, oh, hey, I remember you from this. It's like, it's weird for them to get mad about that because it was calculated intentionally. Like, you know what I mean? You get what I'm trying to say is they're doing it on purpose to grow their brand. So to then come back and get mad at someone for reporting what they were doing on purpose is weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could probably agree with you, but I'm biased, obviously.
Sure, yeah.
Are you talking about Nadia saying that she was
I'm not. No.
Call of Duty? Is that what you're referencing right now, Mimosa?
You're gonna get me attacked. But no, I mean, yeah. But Nadia is an example where like she intentionally played into the "I'm a cheater" thing, and that grew her brand tremendously. And so, you know, now potentially with this game brand deal, there was a kind of a falling out where so many people tweeted at this game that Nadia's a cheater. You know, they only knew the story where she was playing into it, that she's a cheater. They didn't necessarily see oh, actually, she's not a cheater. It was just kind of a branding gimmick. So it's hard to blame those people too. I don't know. It's complicated.
No, I think that's actually a fair example though, because even back at that time, I was of the same mindset of like, okay, this is going to get you highlighted for a week. Mm-hmm. Is this really worth doing, knowing the audience that you are playing into? They are going to hold this over your head for the rest of time.
Some people would say the cheating audience is the most passionate audience of all time.
Like, what did you expect? Hunters. What did you expect to happen? That audience to forget about it? Now, should they have chased her to a brand new game? No, they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, and there's many examples like that. It's a weird time though, and I think you have there's definitely some sliver of truth there because we live in a time of clip farming, right? And you could argue, I played right into the vehicle of those Speed at the time when Speed was gaming. There was a lot of rage clips, right? Mm-hmm. And there were people being terrible to him. Don't get me wrong,
right?
But he was playing in like those are the things that are going to get clipped. Obviously, him calling the girl like a dishwasher or vice versa, whatever happens to him, is going to get clipped. And unfortunately, I chose criticizing wording about that clip, and the clip went viral. And then YouTube stepped in. And so naturally, of course, I'm going to be somewhat to blame, right? So there's so many different sides to play with it, but we live in an era with so much clip farming. I don't know what's right and wrong anymore, Mimosa. I don't know what the frick to do anymore.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, someone has to report the news. So if someone sends you a clip or you see a clip and it is something that's going to go viral or be newsworthy, I just think it's your job to post it. You know, you don't necessarily have to give an opinion on it one way or another, but you have to at least, you don't have to do anything, but it's your job to post it kind of. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're an esports news reporter, or not reporter, sorry. Just an
No, reporter works.
Reporter, perfect. Not journalist. Reporter.
But then you want to really dive into it?
Yeah,
if you don't give your opinion, you're a soft mother fricker. And then if you do give your opinion, you divide your audience and one half is going to hate you. Yeah. So what lane do you decide to go down? Because when you have done this for 7 years and you've covered 5,000 stories, eventually you're going to have a story that is so stupid that you're going to take a side because you're like, this is obvious, right?
Right.
And then you're going to realize, oh no, you just split the divide. And then you have an opinion on everything. And I've never agreed with the notion that like a reporter or a talking head or a news source can't have an opinion. You can have an opinion as long as you're civil and open to both sides. But once you open that opinion up, like, dude, people hate on everyone nowadays. So I think it's kind of industry standard.
I mean, and yeah, you're a personality as well. We've already talked about that as being one of the alluring aspects of the way you report news. So giving your opinion is not a negative either. And if people don't like that and they don't like your personality, then, you know, they just probably wouldn't be following you.
If people really, really watch, I don't care about most things. Like, you give it 12 hours, I'm pretty much over it. I'm not holding anything against anyone, and I don't really have harsh takes. Like, if you actually like watch me or know me, to think that I'm like sitting in bed thinking about how much I hate some person for what they did drama-wise, like, I don't care. It's on to the next day. Something else is going to happen. So I wish people would realize that more. Like, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky, pretty laid-back guy, and once the next day hits, the prior day don't matter.
A lot of our guests have been Warzone streamers so far, and we've been doing the Mount Rushmore of Warzone, which to a lot of people's dismay are sad that we have 5 heads on our Mount Rushmore instead of 4. But I did want to ask you a little bit of a different question. Since you cover all esports, who would be on your 5-headed Mount Rushmore of esports? And that can be based on influence, their domination in the sport, the impressions that they were able to pull, anything that you want. Who are the 5 heads on your esports Mount Rushmore?
Okay. Yeah, this is obviously tough. I also want to make a mental note to you to bounce back. I'm curious what your Warzone Mount Rushmore would be. Because once I hear yours, I want to counter it just off I'm a casual Warzone guy, so I'm curious what you think. But I'm going to do this on the overall esports scope, more of the influence side. I'm going to avoid, I think, for the most part, like players. I'm just talking about the overall esports industry as I have known it, all right? Mm-hmm. There are infinite answers that can make this list, and you are, again, setting me up for failure.
You're going to get killed no matter what, so don't worry.
So, my number 1 on Mount Rushmore of esports is going to be Ninja. This guy has utterly transformed and changed the gaming and streaming space in multiple ways that will forever, and should be noted. Whether it's the big streamer deals, whether it's even the Drake moment at the time, peak concurrence, the subathon, the sub records he held on Twitch, the multi-streaming aspect, and where he brought the industry alongside Fortnite. That's an infinite number 1 spot for me. I know people love to hate on Ninja, whatever. That dude changed the space forever. For me, that's the number 1 spot.
Yeah, I would agree.
So this is more like an esports gaming Mount Rushmore, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think it tails off, obviously, from there. But for me personally, this is still people of tremendous influence. Again, this is subjective. Please don't hate me. Mimosa sent me this question ahead of time, and I still had to think about this at length. I think 2 and 3 coincide, and I'm going to give this to Nadeshot and Hex. I think these are 2 of your more unique owners in the esports space who also actively act as personalities. And what Nadeshot has done with 100 Thieves in such a short span of time, and now is actively as a streamer, I mean, he's made a name for himself in 100 Thieves in a matter of 5 years or less. And to have him be to look up to someone like Hex, who has done similar things. Hex has one of the more successful podcasts of all time in esports, and what he has done with Optic cannot be denied. And you could argue that Nadeshot, I'll go Hex number 2 and Nadeshot 3 for that. But what these guys have built in terms of audiences and the way that they have done it creatively, I can't deny either of those guys. Like they are legends. Like I got nothing but love and respect for those guys and what they have built. This 4th one might be a tad controversial, but I'm going to give it to G2 Carlos or Ocelot. When it comes to an esports owner, former player, and personality, in his peak, Carlos was the perfect mesh of what esports needed, especially over on Twitter. That was before he became the alpha male that he is, and like just became whatever he is now.
Sure.
But I really did idolize Carlos for a long time, and he could beef and banter with anybody online. He held his own on social media, and he had the teams to back it up. And so what he did with G2, and of course, obviously Hex with Optic and Nadeshot 100 Thieves, that's why those are my 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then for 5, I think it's only fair to go with any FaZe OG member. I'm going to choose Banks. Again, might be controversial, whatever. This top 5, you're setting me up.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to someone who really traversed into celebrity culture and just what he did creatively as well, like whether you hate or love FaZe Clan, you want to see what they're doing, and they're doing something. Mm-hmm. And so to not give them their ode of like, they have built tremendous things. So my Mount Rushmore would have to be those 5. Ninja seems a bit misplaced with this, but that's how my freaking weird mind works. I'm going to go Ninja, Hex, Nadeshot, Carlos, and Banks.
I love it. And I mean, I never played Fortnite a day in my life. It seemed interesting to me. At the time, I was playing exclusively multiplayer Call of Duty. I thought Battle Royales were just some phase. And now I literally don't play multiplayer and I only play Warzone. But Ninja was still the first person that, you saw in Samsung commercials. You saw him playing with athletes. You saw all these famous people wanting to play with Ninja that are in the mainstream, entertainment world. And you're like, oh shit, that's Ninja. Like, you can actually break through to that level of mainstream as a gamer. And, I would agree, if I'm doing a Mount Rushmore of esports, he's definitely on it for me too. And your other names were great as well for the reasons you gave, just on their influence with the orgs that they ran and things like that. So yeah, great Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, but give me your Mount Rushmore Warzone. Let's go. Let's dissect this.
I've literally never even thought about my own Mount Rushmore of Warzone, but off the top of my head, I'm going to go number one in terms of influence. It's got to be... Oh... I mean...
Can I shoot over some possibilities and you could say yay or nay?
Yeah, let me just rattle off 5. People are going to roast me for not giving my 5, and I'll just rattle them off fast, and then let me hear yours, and we'll give our opinions on both. But I'll put in no particular order, just based on the influence of Warzone 1 and how Warzone grew initially. I'd probably have to put Tim the Tap Man on there. Definitely not for his gunny, obviously, but
you already got me shook
for his influence on the game. I'm guessing Doc is up there as well. I will go with Swag for a very similar reason, just in terms of like growing the game.
You better have someone. I'm thinking you better have this next person then.
I'll put Iron on there in terms of his concurrent viewers in Warzone 1. And my 5th one, in terms of growing the game. I don't know. Who's your 5th one? Or who are yours? Because I could do multiple Mount Rushmores of Warzone, which is the problem. But
I know that's a tough, because you got influence versus competitive. So I was actually gonna go more of the competitive side. I was gonna lead the way with like someone like Aiden, honestly, because the way he's traversed multiple games and he brought a lot of attention. So I was, and me and him, we probably don't get. I was gonna go Husker's got to be on there for me too. So like, but now hearing yours. Okay, if we're going like mainstream heavy influence, I guess you would have... See, I was going to go Nick Merckx.
Yeah, no, he's on there. He's probably my 5th, actually, if we're going just influence for sure.
It's tough.
And he was really okay tough. At Warzone 1 too. I mean, he's obviously hasn't played in a while, and he's gotten worse as he gets older and plays less. But when he first started, he was decent. He was playing in tournaments.
Yeah, I just remember he was always stoking the flames with a lot of news pieces when Warzone was first dropping.
Yeah. If I was going just skill wise, I think a lot of people that I interviewed in my first couple interviews are on there too. I mean, Huskers, like you said, I think Aiden's probably on there. I mean, those are the ones that come to mind, I guess. I mean, Brett is like kind of newer to this in terms of like where he is right now, but I really like his influence and the numbers he's pulling in right now and just his skill set.
Is the trio jumping?
Oh, Tommy. I put Tommy on there.
I was going to say, like, Biffle, Shifty, and Hisoka, are those guys jumping the ranks yet? Or is that taking another year? Because then, like, if you go competitive, you can have unlimited choices at Warzone because you got all the OG guys and you got the new peeps who are just freaking...
That's the problem, yeah. It's a really hard question, and now I see why it's hard for me to ask people this question. But
yeah, dude, and you gave me esports.
Yeah, all of esports. But yeah, I mean, freaking Biffle and Soka and Shifty are the 3 best right now, and it's just like, I guess let's see it for another year. But I mean, I don't expect them to decline at all. So yeah, they're probably going to be on there next year. And when you put all 3 of them on there and they take up 3 spots of the 5, that's tough too.
Yeah, doesn't leave much room.
Yeah. You did mention you're gaming a lot in your personal life. What are you playing right now?
I play a lot of Smite. It's a great freaking game. They're in transition right now between Smite 1 and Smite 2. That's an utter failure. But me and my homies love Smite. Me and my girlfriend, we love Halo Infinite. I think it's actually one of the better Halo titles of all time, and that game is also dying. And then I play a lot of League. I play a lot of ARAMs in League. I'm a very non-competitive person, so all the games I just listed, you'll notice not ranked. So I just like to sit back, have some drinks, play with my peeps. And if I lose, I don't get too upset.
Yeah. That's the way to go. I'm just way too competitive. Well, I guess I do play other games for fun, but in terms of Warzone, like once you like think you're competitive, then it's hard to not have fun if you're not doing well, which is tough. What's the most ridiculous or unexpected moment that you've experienced while you're traveling around to all these esport events? Or just what surprised you, I guess, as you've kind of traveled around?
Not everyone speaks English.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I've just my whole life I've only had like, my max flight was like 3-hour flight, 4-hour flight, right? Most recently we were traveling between Korea and Sweden, and one of my legs was 14 hours.
It's tough,
and
yeah.
I left that plane a different man than I got on that plane. So for me, international travel has just been a big shock, to be honest. Also, just the fandom. Like you can see someone that you don't recognize because they're outside of North America, and they have a crowd of people beyond any personality that you'd ever realize. So yeah, for me, international travel wise, it's a different audience over there, man. Like these creators are crazy. These celebrities are crazy over there. So the fandom internationally is just insane.
And what about like your personal fan experiences? How's that been for you?
I would say my craziest fan experience is when I met my first hater. I met my first hater at a CS event, and dude, oh my god, frick! I walked up and I was just trying to record some clips. And this guy had like 3 or 4 beers down because he had stacked cups, and I was like, oh boy.
Here we go. Yeah.
He didn't recognize me at first, which is the usual interaction, right? I don't expect to be recognized by anybody, which is awesome. So he sees me recording. He does a double take. He's like, "Wait, you're Jake, right?" And I was excited because I'm usually like a pretty receptive, like, yeah, heck yeah, like let's dap it up, let's get some beers, whatever. Hit south turn right away. He was like, dude, I hate you.
Immediately.
And this first time it ever happened, honestly, because I respect it. Like if you could tell someone you hate them, whatever.
Yeah, I guess go.
But for me, it's like I've been at this venue for 9 hours. I'm haven't had my nightly drinks yet. I'm tired. I want to get out of here. And so for me, it's like, how do you react in that moment, right? So I was like, oh, like, what did I do? He was like, I used to love when you did CS News, bro, but you just got so involved in like the drama. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, it happens, right? Like, got to try and survive out here. Like, what bothered you the most? Like, was there a post in particular? He was like, nah, dude, just like, I hate like the vibe. And I was like, all right. And I'm still trying to finish my clip.
Yeah.
And we're not moving. Like we're just standing side by side. And so I think he was like a bit under the influence because like a good solid minute passed by. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Whatever. And by the end of the conversation, he was like, hey, man, appreciate how you took that hate. And I was like, for sure. Enjoy yourself. And that's how the conversation ended. Yeah. And I left that feeling so like, could I have handled that better? Do I hate myself? Was that good? And so, yeah, that was the weirdest exchange I've had. Was actually meeting a hater. That's not ever fun.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but one of the most difficult things, I love meeting people in real life. Like I've already talked about, that's like my favorite thing to do. But I'm actually not really good at small talk, which is weird. So like I always find it hard we have like a good first interaction. We're talking just like the normal stuff, and then I really never know how to get out of the conversation. I don't know how to end the conversation. I don't know if you have that same issue.
Some people aren't the best at ending it themselves.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like if you're trying to meet someone, you got to have some backup talking points because I don't mind it. I don't care at all. Like I'm pretty decent. I also have Hunter with me usually. My buddy always with me, so like he can facilitate conversations better than I can.
Yeah,
I'm like you. I'm like I don't always know the best way to end this. Like have a nice day.
Yeah.
But
well, anyway,
the opener's easy, dude. I'm so strong off the opener. I'm like, what's up, dude? How you doing?
I got a strong open. Yeah.
Let's get a picture. And then, but I will say, I think some of that's not on you though. Those people have to have it properly planned. Like if I'm talking to Mimosa, I gotta have some backup topics of like, oh, remember that one time, and like. But some people will come up and be like, what's up, man? Like, love your stuff. I'm like, thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Silence.
Yeah, then you're just standing there. You're like, all
And
right,
I'm like,
well,
I don't know you yet. I don't know what to ask you. You got to
Yeah.
give me something.
Right.
Like, you got to be like, hey, you like the clones, right? And then I can connect. Or like, you like Smite, right? Then I can connect. It's like, give me something.
Yeah. Good advice for anyone going up to meeting anyone. Have some backup topics because you don't just want the initial "what's up" and then
like
crickets.
walk up to Mimosa and be like, "What's up, dude? You're so big. Oh my god."
Oh man. We've also been doing lightning rounds with our guest Jake. So this is just rapid questions, rapid answers. So if you're ready for it, we can kind of go through this here quick.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Favorite movie?
Titanic.
All right. Favorite band or musician? Band trips people up when I say that sometimes. I'm not sure why. Band or musician?
Bands aren't a thing anymore, bro.
Yeah, sorry.
Imagine I just go One Direction.
Yeah, there you go. I mean
they are great, by the way. Dude. Because I don't want to get judged. That's the thing.
You can get this is a trust tree. No one's gonna see this.
Shabuzi.
All right. Hey, I like Shabuzi.
Or Post Malone.
I love Post Malone. Favorite esports team?
I see a lot of them now. I don't want to give you a basic answer. Frick. Of all time or just currently?
Yeah, all time or currently, however you want to interpret it.
Cloud9, Boston, E-League Major.
Let's go. Favorite food?
Spaghetti.
What would be the best superhero power to have?
I lied to you. It's peanut butter toast.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Favorite superpower. The ability to fly.
That's a good one. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Favorite fast food chain?
I don't like fast food.
Favorite cartoon as a kid?
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Favorite breakfast food?
Peanut butter toast.
There we go. That's it. That's the lightning round. Pretty painless. Appreciate
so easy, dude.
Where's the coolest place you've gotten to travel to cover esports so far?
Busan, South Korea. It was, aside from Sao Paulo, Brazil, would recommend an esports event in Brazil for anybody. Busan was, dude, beautiful. Like they say, clean, like very, very clean city, very, very polite people, and just beautiful. Like not kind of the architecture and city layout I could see in Iowa. Nice.
And you do a lot of interviews yourself. Who's the funniest person you've gotten to interview?
Chad Ochocinco.
Nice.
Aside from him, maybe Breadman.
Nice. Yeah, Breadman's hilarious, dude.
Bread is hilarious.
Yeah,
Bread has that. He is the funniest motherfucker.
Yeah. What moment sticks out to you as your biggest moment in your career so far? Or the most memorable? And maybe they're the same thing.
My biggest moment probably has to be leaving Esports Talk. But most memorable moment? These are deep questions, sure. The last CSGO major in Paris was just, a French team won it in Paris. You can't make that up.
Would you trade your job currently for any other job in the world right now?
No. I am very fortunate, very, very lucky.
So you wouldn't rather be a competitor that you're covering, you'd rather be the guy covering the competitors?
Hey man, there's not many better jobs than being a streamer, but I would say what I'm doing now probably rivals that, and it's what I've wanted to do for a long time. So I don't take that for granted.
Awesome, man. Looking forward, is there anything you want to do in esports that you have in mind that you haven't been able to do yet?
Yes, dude. I very much want to get more into covering indie developers or developers and publishers in general. And I would love to just be involved with marketing and promoting video games. I think that's a big future of, so many developers are making so many titles out there and insane projects. I would love to be more involved, whether it's interview wise or marketing wise, just telling the stories of all of these games popping up every single day. For me personally, that's where I've taken interest over the last few years, especially when it comes to indie. Nice.
And I've actually seen a lot of your posts kind of relating to that as you're trying to get into that, which has been really cool. Is there any games out there that people might not know about coming up soon or like in beta or brand new really released that we should be taking a look at?
Smite 2 is a really good one. You guys should definitely take a try. No, unfortunately, at the time of the question, like a lot of the stuff that I've had interest in has already come out and been released. So that's a tentative question, really.
Okay. Well, keep a lookout for Jake's Twitter posts. He has been posting a lot of them, and a lot of them have been pretty cool.
Kingmakers. We'll maybe see it in 2025. Maybe.
Okay. Esports the next 5 years, where do you think it's going?
I think esports in the next 5 years has a positive outlook, but I think there will be some sort of tremendous change to the industry to shake things up. And I think esports has to change something. I don't know what in particular. I think viewer parties have been kind of the biggest change we've seen in the last few years. I think we see another step in some different angle to change the way that esports are viewed in the next 5 to 10 years. I don't know what that is, though.
And you kind of talked about a little bit with covering more indie games, but just like big picture, what do you see is next for you personally, Jake Lucky? You know, do you have any plans for anything brand new? Do you just see your social media influence growing? You know, what's next for Jake Lucky?
Yeah, man, that's been a question I haven't known for years, which is both a great thing and a terrible thing. But I think it's a lot of people in this industry are probably thinking the same way.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to esports and gaming, there's a lot of unknowns. So you kind of just take it day by day. And I'm definitely, forever grateful for where I've made it to, and continually grateful for where I get to wake up and do every single day. But I don't know what's next. And that's why you see so many people taking stabs in different directions, right? That's why I say esports, gaming, streaming, because I think it's going to be one of those three, if not all of them, intertwined. Mm-hmm. So I think the bigger picture is going to be, I'm excited to see where gaming goes. I don't know if that's AR. I don't know if that's VR. I don't know if that's helping indie devs or big publishers out. But I just want to cover stuff, and I want to talk about video games. And I know that will be a landscape going forward. But I just think that the future of gaming, what we've seen now, we're in the baby stages, brother. Like the games we have already seen to this date that are monumental changes and shifts in the industry. What are we going to see in the next 10 years? And so I just want to play a part in some way or another with that stuff.
Hell yeah, man. Well, Jake, I think we've said it all. Like I said up front, you know, I originally found you, obviously from probably Warzone news, but I really took to the way that you cover it. I like that you add personality. I like that you add humor. You know, I just was receptive to that right away. So I think that it personally and probably big picture has been a huge part of your success. I really do see you as kind of the face of gaming news, and I think a lot of other people do too, which is a credit to where you've come. So hopefully you take some time and kind of look back once in a while and see kind of where you're at now. But I know your time is valuable. I appreciate you giving some of it to me, and thanks for being here today, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, man. I'm glad we can make it happen. It's great to kind of have these moments to talk back things through with you and kind of relive, what's all gone down. So I appreciate you, and hopefully we can do another one in the future, huh?
Heck yeah, man. Let's go. Hopefully we can meet in real life someday too. We'll be at an event. We'll be at an event together soon, I'm sure.
And when we do, the people will see us with a selfie and a beer.
100%. You can count on it. All right, Jake, enjoy the rest of your night. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Heck yeah.